XRP and Cardano have a big catalyst that could send them much higher. And is the Trump family launching a crypto wallet, or is it all fake? This is your Altcoin Buzz News. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cody, and if you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when we drop latest content. Follow us on Twitter, altcoinbuzz.io, and as always, not financial advice, and wish the best of luck in your crypto ventures. Alright, good morning you guys. So more or less, Bitcoin is in the same spot as it was yesterday, although we did have a bit of a nasty closing yesterday with this candle here where we wicked up and we closed back down here. Now we are holding up a little bit here, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we have something kind of like this here. We can see on the daily chart we had these wicks up and then we closed beneath this level of resistance. I wouldn't be too surprised if we tried that again today, where we wick up here towards maybe $107,000-ish, and then maybe we close down below. And I still do think the base case for me is that we head a little bit lower. We take out at least these wicks before we continue higher above $110,000 for new all-time highs towards $120,000. So for me, this is still the base case. What I would want to see, to invalidate that is I'd want to see us closing daily candles back above here around $109,500. If we close daily candles above that, we'll be putting in higher lows, and then we are, heading towards new highs soon afterwards. But I don't think this has been a long enough period of, correction before we can go to that level, because we had this huge run up from around $75,000 to $112,000 in the course pretty much of a month. So I don't think that this little correction phase is over yet. I do think it'll take a little bit longer to play out over the next coming weeks. So I do think we still probably head back down here first before continuing higher. So that's the base case for Bitcoin. Hasn't really changed so far. Then we have Don Jr. saying the Trump family got into crypto out of necessity, saying this.
The reason we got into crypto, and we're all in on crypto, and we're doing American Bitcoin, and we have World Liberty Finance and USD1, was because there was a time, and probably I'd been on this show, where I could call any single banker in New York City. They'd pick up the phone. I'd be able to get a loan for whatever real estate project I was doing across the street. Then we got into politics, and all of a sudden, they wouldn't take your call. Right. You couldn't get financing. We were debanked. And what I realized, and my brother realized, because we were the recipients of every subpoena imaginable, was that, you know what, we were actually just the top of this sort of pyramid scheme that we didn't realize we were a part of, that the financial system was totally undemocratized. Because we had a certain balance sheet and whatever, we could kind of do whatever we wanted. The regular guy was messed up. Now we were all of a sudden in the shoes of the regular guy that wouldn't be able to take advantage of the markets. And we said, what's the solution for that? The answer is crypto. These decentralized platforms where you're not beholden to this, where you create efficiencies. As a guy that did real estate, why am I paying points in and out for title insurance that could be done on the blockchain? So we got into crypto not because it was like, hey, this is the next cool thing. We got into it out of necessity.
And speaking of the Trump family, yesterday there was this news going around spread by a lot of people, and especially Magic Eden, who said, big news. The official Trump wallet is coming soon, the first and only crypto wallet for true Trump fans. Join the free watch list for a chance to get a share of $1 million in Trump rewards at this TrumpWallet.com. And so it's very strange that Magic Eden posts this, and it's still up today. And Eric Trump says this project is not authorized by Trump. Magic Eden, I would be extremely careful using our name in a project that has not been approved and is unknown to anyone in our organization. So a lot of people might have signed up for this, but this is not real at all, according to the Trump family. So I don't know who is running this Trump wallet and crypto wallet, but not a good look. Then we also have, at the same time, President Trump's True Social has filed for a Bitcoin ETF. So their media group has now also filed for spot Bitcoin ETF, which is pretty wild. And then we also have pro-Bitcoin presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung has just won the South Korean election. He promised to legalize ETFs and invest state pensions in Bitcoin, which is huge. And then moving on, we have Germany's DBZ Bank chooses Ripple. Germany's second largest bank with 350 billion euros plus in assets has adopted Ripple's digital asset custody platform, its first full-scale rollout in Europe. Also, Ripple USD is now a recognized crypto token under the DFSA's regime in Dubai. RLUSD is enterprise-grade, compliant, and built for rural utility. Also, if you remember last week, we had Weebus International Limited to buy $300 million plus worth of XRP to establish a strategic reserve, develop infrastructure, and accelerate global expansion initiatives. So we have Michael Saylor's strategy buying Bitcoin. We have the ETH company, which we talked about over the past couple of days, buying ETH for their company. And we also have Weebus buying XRP as a strategic reserve for their company. Then we also have Hyperscale Data, who plans to buy up to $10 million in XRP by the end of 2025 to expand crypto-based financial services via its Alt Capital Group subsidiary. Now, XRP has been one that has been in a range for a very long time, and I don't like to trade too much in the middle of this because it's just, low opportunities. So I prefer if we come to the extremities of the range around whether it's $2 or it's around $2.60. And for the longest time, we've been in the middle of this range. So there hasn't been much for me to do on XRP. But like I said, if Bitcoin does continue down lower, which I expect it to, I think we will get this opportunity towards the low twos, maybe 190, and then we reclaim this level. But this is pretty much what I'm looking for XRP right now. Nothing to do just yet. I think we still come down lower. We tap the bottom of this range and then continue higher for XRP. So overall, XRP looks good. It's just kind of consolidating in this middle of this range, which is good. The longer it consolidates, the bigger the breakout to the upside, ideally. So XRP is still looking fine, but I'm still waiting for lower prices to get interested in this. And then moving on for Ondo, we have the street has covered Ondo. Wallstreet 2.0 is here. What stablecoins did for the dollar, Ondo is doing for capital markets. Stablecoins made USD 24/7. Ondo is bringing that same internet native speed, composability, and transparency to treasuries, and soon everything else. The old system sleeps, Ondo doesn't. OUSG wraps short-term US treasuries into tokenized instruments that move like software. Real-time liquidity, fully composable, already in motion. $1.3 billion tokenized via OUSG and USDY. $2.9 billion in BlackRock's Biddle Fund. $752 million via Franklin Templeton. And $7 billion plus in tokenized RWAs overall. This is not a concept, it's infrastructure. It's not the future, it's already here, and Ondo is leading the charge. And then we also have Nansen's top tokens held by smart money on Ethereum, and we have Ondo at number 1 with $426.87 million in smart money holdings. Now, even though smart money is buying Ondo, it still is making a lower high here, and it's still going to continue lower. It looks like right now we've broken through this level of support. We're doing an underside retest here. We'll probably come up towards 89 cents. And then continue lower towards around 70 cents for Ondo, I believe, before we hopefully consolidate there and then continue higher. But overall, doesn't look good. It kind of looks like the rest of the market, just kind of making these lower highs and looking a little bit weak right now. So Ondo doesn't look too great to me. I want to see it consolidate a little bit longer around 70 cents and then continue higher. If we break there, we're going to this next level of support towards 58 cents. But I do think this is a pretty good long-term level of support, so I imagine this will hold somewhere around 74 to 70 cents for Ondo. And then moving on, we have Tap Tools saying Trump announced a strategic reserve of Cardano's ADA. It sent shockwaves through the price chart. But here's the thing, there are other catalysts just as powerful that are mostly overlooked. First off, a Cardano ETF is officially on the table. The SEC has a decision deadline, October 22nd, 2025. This will be the first time that Cardano is positioned for direct institutional inflows at scale. Most aren't even paying attention. Regulatory clarity is finally catching up. The SEC has now stated that crypto staking does not equal securities, a major shift in how proof-of-stake chains like Cardano are treated. This removes a massive cloud of uncertainty that hung over Cardano for years. But this isn't just a US story. Cardano is starting to attract serious interest abroad, especially in Asia. The ADA JPY pair recently became number 2 trading pair by volume globally, so Japan loves Cardano. And it's not just interest from abroad, it's what the interest is starting to unlock. For the first time, Bitcoin was transferred to Cardano and back without a bridge, no wrap, no custodian, potentially unlocking trillions in liquidity. But none of that matters if no one is building, and that's where Cardano quietly dominates. It just surpassed Ethereum in total core dev commits and is now leading all blockchains by GitHub activity. Builders are one signal, but smart money is another. Nearly $1 billion in ADA has been pulled off exchanges in 2025 alone, and the last time we saw outflows like this, 2021, right before Cardano hit its all-time high. The community has always been here, but what about the rest of the world? For years, Cardano was barely mentioned in mainstream circles, and now it's front and center. And we also have NBX, a Norwegian centralized exchange, and the first public Bitcoin treasury company in Norway to utilize the Cardano ecosystem. They'll use Bitcoin as collateral to issue USDM and generate yield within the Cardano and USDM ecosystems. And we also have Drini here with a good post talking about the products coming out of Cardano are so ridiculously good right now. If you need degen leverage to trade, you have Strike Cardano. If you want to bet on markets, you have Bodega. If you have a huge order, you want to fill OTC, you have Chad Swap. If you need a launchpad or fundraiser, you have Snec.fun. If you want a telecom plan, you have WM Chain. If you need decentralized cloud storage, you have Ion Official. If you need to borrow or lend, you have Liquid Finance. If you need a DEX, you have MinSwap. If you want a centralized exchange for CNTs, you have Comet. If you need a wallet to house it all, you have Tokyo. And if you need a digital identity, you have ADA Handle. So overall, a lot of things being built on Cardano. Now, I will say, just like Ondo and just like a lot of other things, we are seeing an underside retest here for Cardano. So it's not super bullish in the short term. I do imagine we probably come back down here towards 61 cents. We've broken down through this level, so we've broken market structure. We're breaking down, and we're probably going to come back up towards maybe around 70, 71 cents. But then I imagine if Bitcoin continues lower, we'll come back down here. What would negate this, though, is if Bitcoin continues higher, it starts to break above $107,000, $108,000. If Cardano can then reclaim this level as support, then, that would negate all of this. But as of right now, it does look like it's an underside retest as we've broken through this level of support and now might be turning into resistance. And then lastly, today, we have Ethereum user activity reaches record levels, 17% increase from just last week. We also have Lark Davis saying Ethereum is outperforming both Bitcoin and Solana over the past 24 hours. They would just teleport to a different dimension, which is kind of crazy. Ethereum has been a lagger for the entire cycle, and it is now outperforming Bitcoin and Solana. And we also have Crypto Rover saying BlackRock now owns $4 billion worth of Ethereum. So there have been a lot of institutional outflows out of Bitcoin over the past week, and a lot of institutional inflows into Ethereum ETFs in the past week as well. So Ethereum is kind of the beneficiary. If you can see here, we're up 1.5% on Ethereum on the day, and Bitcoin is pretty much neutral, just at 0% here. So Ethereum continues to outperform the market, which is kind of wild, especially Solana, so Solana sold off a bit yesterday after Pump Fund announced that they were going to be doing an ICO and they need to raise $1 billion. And Pump Fund has a lot of Solana and they tend to sell it off a lot. So Solana has been affected a lot by Pump Fund. And so Solana sold off a lot yesterday. Bitcoin sold off a little bit and reclaimed it, but Solana's kind of just hovering down here. But really, Ethereum is the one that, sold off a tiny bit, but is now coming back up again. So like I was saying yesterday, I don't love these, huge wicks up, sell off, huge wick up, sell off. This is usually a level of distribution. But because there's so many big companies that are buying, now there's a company that's similar to Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy. Maybe it's a little bit different, and this is not like the typical distribution that we normally see in TA. Maybe this is just a level of accumulation instead. That's what I'm hoping, and that it doesn't just completely sell off. But after these 3 weeks up on the daily time frame, we are still holding above here. It is pretty bullish for Ethereum. Now, I don't want to get involved until we actually break back above here around 2,800, or if we come down here maybe towards 2,100 again. But overall, this is a level of consolidation that is decent for Ethereum. That's what we want to see. And I think a lot of institutions are starting to finally start to get into Ethereum, which is part of the reason why it's holding up. So, and over the last couple of weeks, as Bitcoin has been up, maybe 1%, 0% on the day, Ethereum has been up, 1, 2, 4% on the day. So Ethereum continues to just show a lot of strength right now, especially compared to Bitcoin and Solana, which is crazy because it hasn't been like that the entire bull run yet so far. So overall, Bitcoin, not looking the best right now. I do think, we continue a little bit lower, and we're starting to see that on the daily candle. Now, New York hasn't even opened yet, but I wouldn't be too surprised if at some point over the next couple of days we come down here and we fill in some of these wicks at some point. So that's my base case for Bitcoin right now, and that is the news for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you tomorrow.